Origin of alchemy is lost in time. Alchemists sometimes complain that the art was created in Egypt by the god Thoth. And could you bring that up? That's all you can do.
Scroll down. That's all. Yeah.
And what's the next site that was accessed after that at 12:24:34 a.m.?
There was a Yahoo search engine site searching the word pipe bomb.
And then at 12:25:10 a.m., what happened at that point?
There's a continuation of the search on pipe bomb.
And then at 12:25:20 a.m., what happened?
Continuation of the search on pipe bomb.
And at 12:25:36 a.m.,
More sites on the query for pipe bomb.
12:26:32 a.m.,
Continuation on the query on pipe bomb.
12:27:22 a.m.,
Shows the bottom of one of the pages on the pipe bomb query.
12:30:36 a.m.,
Appears to be a new query using the keyword anarchist.
12:31:10 a.m.,
The site is accessed, called about, referencing titles about the anarchist cookbook.
I can't read my copy, so I'll see if I can read this one. About the anarchist cookbook. It seems that a lot of people are interested in the legendary anarchist cookbook, hence this page. It is still work in progress, so you are all explicitly requested to submit reviews of the book or other information to us so we can add it here. Spunk Press does not carry the book. This is a conscious decision based on the following reasons. Bullet point 1. While we do not all agree with all material in the Spunk catalog, we should all be able to live with it. The Anarchist Cookbook may well fail to pass this test if it were applied due to its contents. The general consensus among anarchists seems to be that the book is very badly written and full of factual errors. These go so far that you will probably blow yourself up if you try one of the bomb recipes, or poison yourself if you try a drug from the book. The rumor is often heard that the book was compiled by a CIA agent for exactly this reason. Believe this or not to your own liking. What we do carry is a review of the book, and some of the other people have reviews as well. Select from below. Spunk 413, The Anarchist Cookbook, reviewed by Esperanza Godard. Get it from NL or from US File Server. Spunk 464, A Note on the Cookbook by Mark, aka John Brown, from NL or from US File Server. A FAQ on the Anarchist Cookbook by Ken Sharif. Chuck's Thoughts on the Cookbook. We are also compiling a real anarchist cookbook, i.e. food and drink recipes. So if you have anarchist food recipes, please mail, and then it gives an address. Deciding whether a certain recipe is anarchist is left as an exercise for the reader. That was what would have been displayed on the Jensen home computer by whoever accessed this site, correct?
Correct.
I didn't hear your answer.
Correct.
And then about 4 minutes later, what site was accessed at 12:35:22 a.m.? I'm sorry, 12:35:28 a.m.
Okay. The site is called, it appears to be a book index from Spunk.
And then at 12:35:52 a.m., what site was accessed?
The Spunk Press Directory catalog.
And then at 12:36:36 a.m., what site was accessed?
a page from what appears to be the anarchist cookbook called A Forthcoming Book of All Food Recipes.
And let's read what that says. A forthcoming book of food recipes, the Anarchist Cookbook. We are collecting food and drink recipes for a cookbook to be called the Anarchist Cookbook. We would like to dispel the notion that anarchists are a bunch of bomb-throwing thugs, which isn't even close to the truth. The cookbook will be published in the fall of 1998. We are looking mostly for vegan and vegetarian recipes, but anything that a hungry anarchist might eat is welcome. Orders for the cookbook are not being taken at this time. Watch this space for an announcement on ordering information soon. If you would like to submit a food recipe, you can send it to this site by September 1st, 1998. If you are a distributor or bookstore and would like to sell the cookbook, please contact the email listed above. All proceeds from cookbook sales beyond the production costs will be donated to the anarchist movement. Details will be available later as to how your group or project can qualify. Thanks. Now, that site had been accessed at 12:36:36 a.m. and then at 1:14:50 a.m. What was accessed next?
It appears that the user went back to the query on anarchist.
And at 1:15:34 a.m., what site was accessed?
This site appears to be in conjunction with the anarchist due to the placeholder. You can see that it's tagging the anarchist logo. It's just a couple text words on there, important issues in the world today, new editions, nifty things to see. It's hard to tell what the user was seeing on this particular page. If you scroll down, you can see a little bit more text. It says the dreamer is the designer of tomorrow. Continues on for there.
No. And then what site was accessed at 1:16:18 a.m.?
Anarchist web sites.
And then at 1:16:28 a.m.
Personal anarchist web pages.
And 1:17:24 a.m.
Comprehensive anarchist websites.
Okay, now I'm going to direct your attention to the internet history, which is contained, I believe, on Exhibit 88, S88.
I believe that's S90.
Did I? I guess this one's labeled 88, this one's labeled 90. Okay, you're right, it's S90. I have it labeled as 88. Now, the next site that we have with respect to the actual internet sites that you were able to recover off the hard drive as depicted in, was it Exhibit 80? What's that exhibit number? What's the exhibit number for the PowerPoint presentation?
89, I believe.
Okay, as presented in Exhibit 89. The next internet site we have on that exhibit is from November of 1998. So I now direct your attention to the Internet history as found in S90. And the last site that was on the PowerPoint was from Monday, October 19th at 1:17:24 a.m. And I want you to find that on the Internet history as shown in Exhibit S90.
All right. It's at the top of page 14.
So the top of page 14?
Correct.
October 19th, 1:17:24 a.m. So the one, it's the second line?
Correct.
Now, can you explain to the jury why Exhibit S90, the Internet history, contains all of these entries from October 19th, 1998 at 11:39 p.m. and down through that entire page, October 25th, more on October 25th. There's several pages that relate to October 25th page, and then on to October 30th and into November 2nd, but none of those sites were recovered in this or demonstrated or shown in this PowerPoint presentation. Can you tell why that is?
Exactly how you stated it. They were not recovered as actual Internet files from the temporary Internet folder.
And do you have an explanation as to why that was? Do you know why that would be?
They're deleted somehow, either by intentional acts or random acts by the computer.
So all of the sites that were accessed between October 19th, 1998 to Tuesday, November 10th, 1998, which is the next one that's on this exhibit, this other exhibit, all of those Internet sites had been deleted.
They weren't recoverable on the computer, and not all of them from October 19th, just from October 19th after 1:17 a.m.
So October 19th, 1998, 11:39 p.m. onward to November 10th at 12:35:40 a.m. Those sites were not recoverable.
Now, the sites that aren't recoverable are, you're saying 11:39 p.m. It's 1:17 a.m. was the last site that we have.
That you
so
did
technically, I have nothing after that on HTML to display on the PowerPoint. There was nothing indexed on the computer after that on that particular day. There is an entry on the Internet history at 11:39 p.m. for that date. That suggests that there was Internet activity from that point through November 10th. There are various entries on the Internet history of Internet usage. However, there's no Internet file to display in conjunction with that.
Now, all of these sites, I mean, all this entire Internet history lists a username of Buddy, is that correct?
That's correct.
So, directing your attention directing your attention to page 14 of the history. And and this is history that you recovered the history, but you did not recover the websites that were accessed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But you can tell by looking at this history what some of the websites were that had been accessed, even though you can't recover the websites themselves.
That's correct.
So how many times do you see, for example, WinStar or WinStar Cruises being accessed?
It appears that on October 25th, around 11:14 a.m., the windstar.com website was accessed.
So October 25th, 1990, at 11:47 a.m., the windstar.com was accessed. Do you know, as you're sitting here right now, is October 25th, what day of the week that is? If you don't know, you can just say you don't know, because we've got an exhibit.
I don't know.
Well, let's see if we have
I
an
believe it's a
exhibit.
Saturday.
So October 25th
Sunday.
is actually a Sunday. See, doesn't pay to guess, does it? It was a
Does
Sunday.
not pay to guess.
And then it's accessed again at Windstar Cruises on October 25th at 12:30:58 p.m.
Correct.
And then again at 12:31 p.m. on October 25th, correct?
Correct.
And again on October 25th, 1998 at 12:39 p.m.
Correct.
And then again at 12:54 p.m.
That's correct.
That's okay, we can see. Then on Sunday, October 25th, at approximately 12:57 p.m., the Stiefel intranet is accessed. Did you discover that?
Yes.
And could you please pull that? You don't have, oh, we've got that here. Where's I need the internet thing. The emails from October 25th, 12:57 p.m. And I apologize to court and counsel, I don't have the hard copy of that email. We'll pull that up later and get it marked as an exhibit, but for now, with Mr. Alby's concession, and which I appreciate, we'll proceed to, I'd like you to look at the item behind you, and Madam Clerk, I'd request that you set aside an exhibit sticker, and what would the exhibit number be on this?
91.
Exhibit 9, it's going to be marked as Exhibit 91, and I can't read it from back here, so I'm going to go up there. And what was the email exchange between Mark Jensen and Kelly Labonte? And I want to go to Sunday, October 25th, 1998. Is that the beginning of it or the end of it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the beginning.
No, that's the beginning.
This the beginning?
That's the beginning. Is there another one dated the 25th?
This is the very bottom of the email. So
Is there another email dated the 25th? Or possibly the 24th?
this is what I have.
I don't think it's the 20th. I don't think it's found that well.
Well, we'll get back to that later, because I don't think that's the right one that we wanted to pull up. Well, we'll see if we can find this at some other time and get back to it, but I don't. It is. I think that is the one. So we start with October 25th at 5:31 p.m. So you did have the right one up there. And it's Exhibit S70. So, and I guess I can read it from back here now. So on Sunday, October 25th, 1998 at 5:31 p.m., did you discover an email from Mark Jensen to Kelly, at this time now it's Kelly Greenman?
Yes, I did.
And you became aware that at some point Kelly Labonte became Kelly Greenman, correct?
Yes, I did.
And the email from Mark Jensen to Kelly Greenman dated October 25th, 1998 at 5:31 reads how?
The exchange from this email starts from Mark Jensen to Kelly Greenman saying, so I have this question. Remember, quote, don't tell me what I want, end quote, question mark. So what do you really think, question mark.
And on Monday, October 26th, 1998 at 6:21 a.m., how did Kelly Greenman reply?
Kelly responds, what do I think about what?
And how did Mark Jensen reply to that on Monday, October 26th at apparently 11:33 a.m.?
Mark responds, remember what don't tell me was.
Well, let's do it this way.
Excuse
Remember
me.
what, quote, don't
Yes.
tell me, unquote, was in relation to?
Just wondering if you had given that any more thought, if it would be an issue, if you'd be okay with it, if whatever. Thought I'd toss it up in the air and see what comes back down.
What came back down? And see what came back down.
Yep, what came back down. Wasn't that the crush conversation in Columbus? That was at a time when I wasn't at this point with, quote, this, end quote.
And how did Kelly Greenman reply to Mark Jensen on Monday, October 26th, 1998 at 11:40 a.m.?
Kelly replies and says, I think it would be a piece of cake and a joy taking on all three of you.
Now, based upon your computer, just what you'd seen from the computer, you didn't know what all three of them, Ms. Greenman was referring to? Taking on, quote, all three of you?
By my computer knowledge?
Yeah, just, you wouldn't know what that was, did you?
Not if I had no background on the case, no.
And then there was a reply from Mark Jensen to Kelly Greenman on Monday, October 26, 1998 at 11:11 p.m. And what was the reply?
The next reply comes from Mark Jensen to Kelly saying, that got me laughing. Piece of cake and a joy taking on all three. You know, I can see that. I think you'd be able to handle 3 or 4 as the case may be. Perrin got pics from Doug and Robin of the new edition, and Perrin. Think that you'd be good for them too.
Okay, thank you. Now get back to the internet history, or I should say the internet as depicted in the PowerPoint presentation of Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 12:35 a.m. What site was accessed at that point? 12:35:40 a.m.
You're back on the PowerPoint?
Yes.
I'll let her catch up.
That's our old day.
Tuesday, November 10th, 1998, 12:35:40 a.m. This is page 80 of the PowerPoint.
Okay, the next HTML that we were able to recover is a Yahoo query for the word suicide. And it was at 12:35 a.m. on November 10th.
And then approximately 4 minutes later, on Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 12:40:08 a.m., what site was accessed?
It's a site on physicians-assisted suicide.
And then at 12:41:08 a.m. on Tuesday, November 10th, 1998, what site was accessed?
A site on Noel Early.
I'm sorry, what?
Noel, Noel, Early, Earley.
And then the next site reveals that Noel Early is a Vietnam vet and ALS sufferer who presents his views on euthanasia.
Correct.
And then Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 12:55 a.m., what site is accessed?
A medicine site.
And then on Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 12:55:40 a.m., what site is accessed?
A site on toxicology.
And then on Tuesday, November 10th, 1998, what is accessed at 12:57:08 a.m.?
This is a page titled Results for Query on Nicotine.
And then Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 12:58:22 a.m.
There's a site titled, or that the page is, the header says Cooperative Extension, University of California, Davis Environmental Toxicology Newsletter. And it's an article on 2,4-D absorption study.
And then beneath that, beneath the absorption study, what is depicted there?
Beneath the absorption study, there's a paragraph talking about the researchers at a Canadian Center for Toxicology. Goes on to say,
Well, excuse me, I mean below that paragraph.
oh, I'm sorry, the second paragraph?
The one that reads unintentional carbon monoxide poisoning following a winter storm, January 1993.
Oops, there you go. There's a paragraph below that title referencing carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yes. Then Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 12:59:42 a.m., what site is accessed?
Appears to be the same site as the previous.
And Tuesday, November 10th at 1:1 a.m., 20 seconds after 1 a.m. actually, what site is accessed?
Again, it appears to be the same site.
And 1:08:16 a.m.?
Same. This one's a little bit different. It's still a site on this Cooperative Extension, University of California Environmental Toxicology Newsletter.
And then Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 1:13:48 a.m.
There is a page displayed on chemical health and safety data.
And then Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 1:13:58 a.m.
It's a webpage from what appears to be the National Toxicology Program, Department of Health and Human Services.
And Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 1:14 a.m., what site is accessed?
Appears to be a page from the Chemistry, Health and Safety site, a search site, a search page from that site.
And then 1:14:10 a.m.
Appears to be the results of a search from that site on nicotine.
1:14:38 a.m.
This is a site, or this is a page, appears from that site on NTP Chemical Repository, Radian Corporation, August 29th, 1991, on, I'll spell it because I don't think I can say it, NITROSONOR
So it ends in nicotine, whatever
Ends in
it ends
nicotine.
with. And then Tuesday, November 10th, 1998 at 1:15:58 a.m.
Appears to be a similar page from this NTP, the chemical repository on nicotine.
And that's the last website you were able to recover that had been accessed in November of 1998. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But then you go to the internet history, and starting at November 10th at, let me get to the right time here, November 10th at 1:15:58. So that's found on page 18.
Page 18
Of the internet
history.
On November 10th at 1:15. Well, I don't even see November 10th at 1:15 on the internet history, and do you know why that would be?
It may not be in the internet history.
But there is, but on November 10th, 1998 on the internet history, well, actually, let's start at November 11th. There are numerous sites that are accessed. There's one accessed November 11th, another one November 15th. Is that correct?
Correct.
But hold on, I interject. That question is incomprehensible.
I didn't find it so,
Okay. Well,
but go ahead.
I thought it mixed
Did you
up
understand the
several
question?
days.
Well, it actually did include 2 days, and I'm willing to break that down. I don't have any problem with that. So, Ms. Mitchell, there is a site access November 11th, 1998 at 12:17:59 a.m.
From the internet history, there's a cookie that was, there was a Marriott.com site accessed.
And then another one on November 15th, 1998.
Correct.
A couple of them on November 17th, 1998.
Correct.
And by the way, let's look at the times on these. I guess I should have done that, so I apologize. We'll start at November 11th. The one on November 11th, 1998 is at 12:17:59 a.m., so it's after midnight, correct?
Correct.
The one on November 15th is accessed at 11:05:17 p.m., correct?
Correct.
The one on November, the first one on November 17th, 1998 is accessed at 7:47:31 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And the other one is 7:47:32 p.m., correct?
Correct.
Then there's a site access on November 21st, 1998 at 10:49:30 p.m., correct?
That's correct.
Then on November 21st, 1998 at 10:50:36 p.m., there's a site accessed, and what site is that?
It appears to be anatomy.atom.com.
And then another one, November 21st, 1998 at 10:51:30 p.m.
A variation of that same site.
And another one on November 21st, 1998 at 10:54:03 p.m.
Same site.
Anatomy.atom.com.
Correct.
And then again, anatomy.atom.com is accessed November 21st, 1998 at 10:55:16 p.m., correct?
Correct.
Then on November 21st, 1998 at 11:03:18 p.m., anatomy.atom.com is accessed, correct?
That's correct.
And in each instance, the username is Buddy.
That's correct.
Then directing your attention to the top of page 19. On November 21st, the anatomy.atom.com site is accessed 1, 2, 3, 4 more times between 11:04:14 and 11:06:37 p.m. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, on November 22nd, 1998, at 2:43 p.m., 2:43:35 p.m., anatomy.atom.com is accessed, correct?
That's correct.
And then it's accessed on November 22nd numerous times down to November 22nd, 1998 at 3:00 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And as you're sitting here right now today, do you know whether or not November 22nd is a weekday or a weekend?
I don't.
So let's look at our exhibit. And it is November 22nd, you'll agree, is a Sunday?
Yes.
So whoever was accessing the internet site of anatomy.adam.com on the Jensen home computer, it was a Sunday afternoon.
That's correct.
Yeah. So on Sunday, November 22nd, 1998 at 2:43:41 p.m., can you tell anything about that site, aside from the fact that it's anatomy.adam.com?
At what specific time?
November 22nd, 1998, 2:43:41 p.m.
The actual site, the indexed history says it's anatomy.adam.com/index/poisidxa.htm.
And the next one at November 22nd, 1998 at 2:43:42 p.m. is what? Excuse me.
Would be the same address. The only difference would be the very last word is spelled POISIDXC.
And do those appear to be poison indexes?
Objection, calls for speculation.
If she knows, she can answer, otherwise the objection is sustained.
You know?
I don't know for sure.
And then, on November 22nd, 1998 at 3:01:01 p.m., there's a search for what on the internet?
There was a search on Yahoo for the word drug interactions.
And it's drug plus interactions, correct?
That's the way you see it in the internet history. The user would not have typed the symbol, the plus symbol.
Oh, okay. And then on November 22nd, 1998 at 3:01:52 p.m., there's another Yahoo search for what?
There's another query on drug interactions.
And then the next one, November 22nd, 1998 at 3:02:41 p.m. What is the site that's accessed there?
There's a site, www.rxlist.com.
And then at on November 22nd, 1998 at 3:04:05 p.m., what site is accessed?
The rxlist.com site is accessed. It appears to be a search on a drug. Might not be a search. It's a derivative. Within the site, someone is looking at, it says drug equals BNAD.
BENAD, correct?
BENAD.
As in the beginning of Benadryl?
Possibly.
And then, turning to page 20, the last site accessed on November 22nd, 1998 at 3:05:52 p.m. And what does that site indicate?
The site title is www.rxlist.com/generic/DIHYDRAM.html.
And are you aware of whether or not dihydramine is a generic term for Benadryl?
I am not.
Probably your knowledge on this.
And then looking at, let's see. November 29th, 1998 at 3:07:58, page 21, about 7 or 8 or 9 lines down. The time again is 3:07:58 p.m. What site is accessed there?
Volvo Cars.
VolvoCars.com.
Correct.
And that's accessed from 3:07:58 until three: 14:57. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the last one is what?
The last one is www.volvoCars.com/S70/S70_price.html.
Oh, and directing your attention back up to about 6 lines down, 11/29/98, last visited 2:21:26 a.m. What site is accessed on November 29th, 1998 at 2:21 a.m.?
www.sierraantifreeze.com.
So somebody was accessing the sierraantifreeze.com or the Sienna Antifreeze website on November 29th, 1998 at 2:21 a.m. And then about 13 hours later on the same day, they were looking up Volvo cars. Is that about right?
Objection, these searches at different times.
I'm sorry,
I didn't hear what you said, sir.
Objection, the searches are at different times.
Yeah, I said 13 hours later.
Well, I know the problem is making an assumption.
Well-
I have no,
Here's the problem is you, actually the problem stems from your misuse of the personal pronoun they, which you actually are using to refer to a single person, so it should have been either he or she. But
I should say
it's
user.
just collective usage, and I think that the objection is we don't even know if it's the same user.
Okay, I accept that, Your Honor. I will try to be more careful. Ms. Mitchell, according to this internet history, whoever was using the internet, somebody was using the Jensen home computer on November 29th, 1998 at 2:21 a.m., accessing the website for sierraantifreeze.com, correct?
Correct.
And then somebody was using the same computer 13 hours later, accessing Volvo car, about 13 hours later, accessing the website for Volvo cars, correct?
Correct.
Now, November 29th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is what day of the week?
Sunday.
Now, directing your attention to page 97 of the PowerPoint presentation. On Wednesday, December 2nd, 1998, at 2:34:24 a.m., what site was accessed on the Jensen home computer?
That would be the site rxlist.com.
And it reads RX List, the Internet Drug Index, correct?
That's correct.
And on Wednesday, December 2nd, 1998, about 16 seconds later at 2:34:40 a.m., what site is accessed?
It's still the rxlist.com site. The specific page is searching for Paxil.
And then on Wednesday, December 2nd, 1998, at 2:35 a.m., in other words, about 20 seconds later, what site is accessed?
Paroxetine.
And then on and does that site indicate what the brand name is for the generic term paroxetine?
Brand name is Paxil.
Directing your attention to the next website accessed on December 2nd at 6:16:50 a.m. What site is accessed?
This site appears to be an ethylene glycol poisoning description.
And let's read that. Ethylene glycol poisoning with a normal anion gap caused by concurrent ethanol ingestion, importance of the osmolar gap, bracket, see comments, close bracket, by, I can't read that name, something Heckerling PS. Ethylene glycol poisoning classically presents as a metabolic acidosis with an increased anion gap. Metabolism of ethylene glycol to organic acids and increased production of lactate are responsible for the increased gap. We report the case of an alcohol user who consumed ethanol and ethylene glycol concurrently and presented without acidosis with a normal anion gap. Several hours later, when his serum ethanol level had declined, he developed severe acidosis with an elevated anion gap and increased osmolar gap, not accounted for by the serum ethanol level, proved to be an important clue to the diagnosis. In this patient, ingestion of ethanol inhibited the hepatic metabolism of ethylene glycol to organic acids, obscuring the diagnosis. In intoxicated alcohol users, even in the absence of metabolic acidosis, serum osmolality measurements and calculation of the osmolar gap may facilitate the rapid diagnosis of ethylene glycol poisoning. Then, and that was accessed at 6:16:50 a.m., and then approximately 34 seconds later at 6:17:24 a.m., what site was accessed?
Oxalic acid.
Which reads, oxalic acid is a two-carbon molecule in which both the carbons are carbonyl groups. Carboxyl groups. It is the metabolite of ethylene glycol, a component of antifreeze. In solution, it is not harmful to a person, but unfortunately, it easily crystallizes in the kidneys as it is concentrated for excretion. High doses of ethanol, buspirone, are given in cases of ethylene glycol poisoning to act as a competitive inhibitor of the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase. The non-oxidized ethylene glycol can then be harmlessly passed by the kidneys. Then, on Wednesday, December 2nd, 1998, at 6:17:52 a.m., what site is accessed?
The title of the site starts out interesting cases in toxicology. What is fomepizole? Not sure the pronunciation.
Fomepizole, brand name Antizol, was approved for use after ethylene glycol poisoning in December 1997. It is not unlike ethanol in its ability to competitively inhibit alcohol dehydrogenase, and clinical trials have proven its effectiveness in preventing the formation of the toxic metabolites formed after ethylene glycol and methanol poisoning. Advantages of fomepizole over ethanol include ease of administration, lack of blood level monitoring, and lack of significant adverse effects. However, fomepizole is a significantly increased cost over traditional ethanol treatment, and there is no outcome data to suggest that fomepizole is better at treating ethylene glycol or methanol poisoning. A more clinical experience accumulates the relative role of fomepizole versus ethanol in the treatment of ethylene glycol and methanol poisoning will become more clear. Then, on Wednesday, December 2nd, 1998, at 6:18:08 a.m., what site is accessed?
Again, it's a site starting out its title with interesting cases in toxicology, and the first paragraph is titled Toxic Alcohols.
And it describes as follows: a 22-year-old male presents to the emergency department after ingesting a, quote, gulp, unquote, of a green liquid located in a Gatorade bottle. A coworker stated that engine antifreeze was transferred from a large vat into the bottle for convenience. The patient had no significant past medical history and was asymptomatic. Vital signs were remarkable for tachycardia at 105 minutes. Otherwise, the physical examination was negative. The first laboratory tests received were a measured serum osmolality of 365 m/0 per kilogram and an ethanol level of 0.00 milligrams per deciliter. Then, Wednesday, December 2nd, 1998, at 6:18:20 a.m., what's the site that's accessed?
Again, interesting cases in toxicology. The first paragraph starts with the caption of how two patients with toxic alcohol ingestions typically present.
And that reads, how do patients with toxic alcohol ingestions typically present, question mark? Any alcohol can produce central nervous system depression. However, the degree to which each alcohol produces this effect varies according to its molecular size and arrangement. Generally, the larger the alcohol, the greater the CNS depression. For example, methanol will produce less CNS depression at a given serum concentration than ethanol or ethylene glycol. The toxic manifestations of methanol and ethylene glycol, such as acidosis, hypotension, and organ damage, and death, can be delayed. Ethylene glycol toxicity generally begins to manifest in 4 to 6 hours, whereas methanol toxicity can be delayed for up to 12 to 24 hours. Co-ingestion of ethanol will delay the manifestations of toxicity even further. It is important to recognize the possibility of toxicity early, before manifestations have occurred, because the goal of therapy is to prevent potentially irreversible organ damage. Both methanol and ethylene glycol can cause acidosis through their metabolic byproducts. Methanol is metabolized to formic acid, which is, in addition to producing an acidosis, also damages the optic nerve. Ethylene glycol creates an acidosis largely through metabolism to glycolic acid and produces renal failure by metabolism to oxalate, which crystallizes as calcium oxalate in the renal tubules. Then, on Wednesday, December 2nd, 1998.
Judge, sir, I'd like to approach, please.
Please all rise.
Your Honor, is this a regular break?
What's up, Mr. Albee?
First of all, Mr.
I know what's up.
You know, may the witness be excused for a few minutes while we're
Yes.
having this discussion?
Yes.
Maybe you want to take it off. I don't necessarily want to hear this.
I asked that they not speak about the testimony.
Well, actually, we wanted to go through something in the testimony. There was an issue a question that we had about one of the exhibits, and she's the only one that can answer it.
It's a little different because there's been limited objections, so I don't know. I don't see how it's any different from if they spoke with them before the examination. But go ahead.
Here's my objection under 90403. Any more reading of web pages regarding ethylene glycol, I'm concerned about their unfair prejudice. I'm not concerned about any prejudice about how many web pages Julie Jensen went to and read, but I'm concerned about misleading the jurors as to the effects of ethylene glycol, because there's no one here to vouch for the accuracy of these websites. I make a record that I've seen at least 3 or 4 jurors appearing to be making notes about what is on the screen, and I don't think they're making notes about knowledge issues. I think they're writing them down as though they're facts about how ethylene glycol is metabolized in the body. And that should be left to experts who can answer questions and who have some training and can be cross-examined. I can't cross-examine these pages, and I don't want them accepting these as the truth. And so the unfair prejudice is that they will be getting misinformation from unreliable websites regarding how ethylene glycol is processed in the body. In addition, I don't think there's any additional probative value to presenting these emails because Mr. Jamboys has now read, I think, 4, maybe 5 of them. He certainly can say, was there another page visited about ethylene glycol? Was there another page visited about ethylene glycol? Fine. They get the idea that somebody is spending time looking at ethylene glycol. What is on the page, the particular contents, I'm not aware of any relevance to in that. I don't know what knowledge they're going to be trying to impute to anyone from what's on the page, and certainly nothing beyond what has already been indicated in these several pages that Mr. Jamboys has read. So I think it has really no probative value or relevance at this point, but it is prejudicial because I can't cross-examine these pages, and I'm certainly not going to have experts comment on these pages. The experts are going to comment about, based on their own experience and their research, how ethylene glycol works in the body. And it's just wrong to have jurors taking notes and relying on what's presented in these unreliable web pages. We don't present the internet as some sort of expert treatise. So that's my objection.
Well, first of all, I don't know what they're writing on their note pages. For all I know, they're writing a shopping list for the grocery store tomorrow. And we're not going to find out, obviously. But even assuming that they're writing something down that pertains to the case. Yeah, go ahead.
I will add that I've seen at least 2 jurors look at the screen and then look back at their notepad as they're writing.
But you see, even assuming, and I think it's a safe assumption, I guess I'm being a little facetious, but even making the rather safe assumption that they're writing down something which pertains to the case and may have been taken directly from the board, they have been told the use to which they can put this information. They have the right to consider, and Mr. Jamboys has the right to present information that someone in the hours that immediately preceded the death of Mrs. Jensen had the ability to read. And that may have conveyed something which was of interest to that person. And I have no idea what the juror might be thinking, and no one does. And I think it would be quite improper for me to assume that the juror is disregarding the instruction and is going to put some weight on the evidence rather as to proving what the screen asserts, as opposed to what writing down something about an aspect that someone had the opportunity to read. So I don't.
Your Honor,
I understand I think your objection, but I don't agree with it.
I have one more point to add.
Let me, in fairness to Mr. Jamboys, and I spoke before you because I want to keep your remarks short and to the point. And if you want to supplement what I've already said, be my guest.
And since you overruled the objection, I'm certainly not going to argue with the court. I just wanted to supplement the record and indicate a further basis for the admission of this testimony, this evidence. And it's not that I'm vouching or anybody else is vouching for the accuracy of the information that's contained on the internet concerning ethylene glycol, but rather the fact that that information is on the internet. And about a month earlier, Mr. Jensen was quoted by one of the state's witnesses as saying that that he was going to give his wife a drug that crystallizes from the inside out. And that sort of information is on the internet and is consistent with what Mr. Jensen was saying. So whether that information, if Mr. Jensen was quoted in November of 1998 saying if you ingest ethylene glycol, it will cause you to remain a young person forever and ever and ever. And then it was saying this on the internet right now, that see, there's this consistency between what Mr. Jensen was quoted as saying and what the internet is saying. And so that's another reason that it's of utility. It doesn't mean that it's accurate at all. It just means that Mr. Jensen was quoted as saying something very similar to what is contained on this screen that was displayed on the Jensen home computer, thereby giving some inference as to who was reading what's on the Jensen home computer, and that was Mr. Jensen and not Mrs. Jensen.
Judge, that was the other point I was going to make, was that I think adds to the record. Presumptions don't run backwards. Mr. Jamboys is citing a conversation in November. That would be fine if there was October information about crystallizing, even though Mr. Klug never said anything about antifreeze or ethylene glycol. If there was something about crystallizing in October, there may be something more to his point. But I've been listening to pages being read for a couple hours now, and I haven't heard anything about those kind of pages being looked at prior to Ed Klug saying that was said. So the other part of the record relevant to this that I was going to make is that Mr. Jamboys is emphasizing those words like crystallizing when he's reading his page. He's reading them as though they are facts being stated, I think to emphasize points that he will want to argue through his toxicologists, and I think it's improper bolstering for probably erroneous opinions that may be coming from them later on.
Well, I have to say, I had not detected it, and I'm not in a position to agree with your observation. And one of the positive points about having the media coverage is that if there is a significant issue at a later point about this, it'll all be of record as to whether he was emphasizing points or not. But it certainly did not reach the level that it came to my attention prior to your just mentioning it. So I don't know. All right, anything else?
No.
We'll start at 10 minutes to.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do we really need an hour to talk about this? Well, let's stop. We'll stop with the jury at 4, and then we'll use the remainder of the time today to talk about evidentiary issues. You can do it now.